So, Scheaf and Southern Paladin, you both made videos on that Tau thing. I think that's how you say it, Tau. I don't know. I got a little bit into Eastern philosophy when I did a lot of martial arts. Got a little bit more into the culture side of it. That was a period where, how do I say this? Had a little touch of the yellow fever. Uh, um, I but when you speak on this, the ego and stuff like that, and I had a very hard time for a long time understanding concepts like being humble or assertive. And you guys know a little bit on on how I was raised and how that could have affected that. So it took me a long time to kind of build that confidence to accept a compliment, you know. I'm still probably not great at it, but I'm a lot better, you know. For the longest time, people would give me a compliment, and you know, I would, be self-deprecating on the whole thing. Whereas now I've learned to just, say thank you and move on. And just accept it. I also, when it comes to being assertive, it took me a long time to kind of learn the difference between you know being a people pleaser and avoiding conflict to being an asshole, for lack of a better term, and then being able to say, you know this is this is how I feel in this situation, and what I need is, so it took me a while to get to that point. And there was a spectrum, right? Like, from being beaten down in so many ways to, like, being in a place where I felt that I had to be like, fuck everyone else and me, to where I am now, which I think there's always room for improvement, but I think I'm in a pretty good place. And I think that because of the fact that, like, I work with a fair amount of guys that are under 30. And I almost feel like I've become like an uncle figure to a lot of them, and so there's that, right? But I think I think some people never have to come to these realizations, and I think some people are, you know, either further behind or further ahead or closer to the mark, or, you know what I mean, based on how they were raised. So I don't know, it's a complicated subject, and it's one that people have to kind of feel out for themselves. And to kind of come back to Southern Paladin when he was speaking on the yoga thing. Well, number one, congratulations, by the way. If you want probably one of the best prehab, rehab kind of, you know, workouts, yoga's got that. And you build a lot of good fighting muscle. People don't realize that, but it's essentially what you're doing is building fighting muscle doing that. And range of motion and all that stuff. So it makes your ability to have longevity, you know. But I know a lot of people, they'll get almost like a spiritual faith based take on it, and you can, but you don't have to. You know, like for me, when I did a lot of martial arts, especially the Eastern ones, I never got that. But it probably wasn't the right time of my life for the ground to be fertile for that, we'll say. I did do a little bit of yoga. I keep threatening that I'll get back into it. And by the time I did yoga, I was already, I've always been Christian, but there's times in my life where I've been more or less, right? And I was at a point when I was very deep into practicing my faith, and so the result was I didn't get drawn into the spiritual side of yoga. I took it more for, the breathing, the stretching, the strengthening, right? So I think like most things in life, you can you could take it where you want to take it. So I don't know. This video isn't really great, and it's kind of incoherent, and maybe I'll post it, maybe I won't. Anyhow, everyone take care.